Hello and welcome to The Analyst. I'm Nikita Rana, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the similarities between old age piracy and computer hacking. The world's trade has shifted from the physical space to virtual networks, and it's to be expected that crime will also follow. Pirates used to track trade routes and attack vulnerabilities along the way, and cyber criminals do the same thing online. As the world has become more advanced, trade transformation has become more and more virtual. From telegraphs and telephones to finally fiber optics and cloud computing. As pirates moved textiles, sugar, and slaves and held them for ransom, similarly today, hackers will lock down a computer using a ransomware. One of the biggest similarities between piracy and hacking is that both are immensely disruptive. In earlier periods, piracy was used for the benefit of the state. For example, England hired pirates to disrupt Spanish trade. State-sanctioned pirates were known as privateers. Similar to patriotic hackers, they were not officially part of the state but would act on its behalf. They were used to both augment traditional military and to add to challenges of identification. These pirates would engage in various activities that have cyber equivalents today. Pirates would block ports, similar to the denial of service attack by hackers today. Pirates would attack economic and military infrastructure the same way that hackers compromise enemy radars and power grids, and the way pirates would hijack ships. Hackers hijack computers to be part of botnets. In the heyday of piracy, one of the biggest challenges that major powers faced was that attackers could easily shift identity and location by changing flags and making use of third-party harbors with loose local laws. Similarly, hackers today use proxy servers and mislead investigators using obfuscated code. Maritime piracy still happens, but it's confined off the shores of failed states like Somalia and occurs on a minuscule scale compared to its golden age. Only 0.01% of global shipping is affected by modern day pirates. However, state-sanctioned piracy is completely taboo. Piracy became a general economic threat at the turn of the 18th century. Pirates started working for the highest bidder and stopped calling any one nation home. That's when the most powerful countries launched a massive campaign to control piracy. The way this has happened demonstrates how a similar shift can take place in cybersecurity. Much like the sea, cyberspace can be thought of as an ecosystem with actors with specific interests and capabilities. Responsibility and accountability are not natural market outcomes, but frameworks can be put into place to either deter bad behavior or support the general public order. To clamp down on piracy, the first strategy that was put in place was to go after underlying havens, markets, and structures that made piracy profitable. Major markets for trading pirate booty were disrupted and shut down. Pirate-friendly cities were brought under heel, and port blockades were implemented. There are modern cyber equivalents to these pirate havens like marketplaces on the dark web. A substantial portion of companies and states that give cybercrime a free legal pass are known. There are around 50 ISPs that are responsible for half of infected machines worldwide. Without the support of these networks and these states, it would be very difficult for online criminals to operate, and it would be much easier to avoid or defend serious attacks on infrastructure. The second strategy is to build a network of treaties and norms between countries. 42 countries agreed to the Declaration of Paris, which abolished privateering and formally turned pirates from accepted actors into pariahs that would be pursued by all nations. The agreement asserted that maritime sovereignty would only be respected if a nation took responsibility for any attacks that emanated from within its borders. Today, all netizens have a shared global expectation of freedom of action on the internet. If you knowingly host or abet maritime pirates, their actions reflect back on you. The same should be true online. Building those norms will motivate states to keep a better check on hackers. It will also weaken the value of outsourcing bad action to patriotic hackers. This approach will also encourage confidence building measures between countries. And for countries that don't get along, for example, US and China, can go after cybercrimes that both consider illegal. The lesson here is that the world will be a better place with trade and communication made safe and freewheeling and patriotic hackers brought under control. That's it on this episode. We'll see you next time.